Okay, I should be live. Oh yeah, I forgot to set up my headphones. Oh no, they're already set. Okay. That off. Turn this down, turn this up. Alright. Should be set. Alright, what is up, you awesome kisters? It is CistReactZ, guys. Today we're going to be watching some Five Nights at Freddy's theories. So we're going to be starting out with I Solved Golden Freddy's Identity Crisis Fnaf Theory by CistReactZ. Make sure you guys subscribe to CistReactZ, hit that like button, and let's check them out.
Alright. Everybody's making their Golden Freddy videos, so I guess I am too. I mean, I was planning on eventually making a Golden Freddy video for the
because we all love
CistReactZ background, but I guess I'll do it now. It seems relevant and a lot of people are shooting their shots, so why not mine? Besides, I have a different opinion on Golden Freddy since the last time I've made a video about him. At least I'm pretty sure. Honestly, I'm not sure. I've got the memory
going on,
of a fly
chat?
that's been swatted. But Slices, put on your aprons and let's bake ourselves a theory. To start, it's probably useful to go over all of the iterations of Golden Freddy throughout the years. I mean, he's been a
There's like
character
too
in the
many
franchise
of them
since
to
the
go through.
First game 10 years ago, but he's only in like half the games and sparingly at best, so information is sparse. So starting with FNAF 1, we get the iconic crumpled up suit of Golden Freddy. It could appear randomly in your office after triggering an Easter egg. If you immediately pull your camera back up, he'll go away, but if
Gold
you stare at him
FNAF
for
bear
too
moment.
long, you get this strange jump scare and the game crashes. And notably, if you punch in 1987 or 1987 into the difficulty on custom night, you get the same jump scare.
I wonder
But
why
that's
Scott
about
did
it.
that.
In fact, the file name for Golden Freddy was Yellow Bear, and that would probably have been the name we would have gone with for a while if not for, I believe, Markiplier calling him Golden Freddy in his Let's Play, and that name stuck. Moving on to FNAF 2, we get a very similar function of Golden Freddy. Once again, randomly and rarely appearing in your office, and if you don't look away, you get this static image jump scare, and then the game crashes. Notably though, in FNAF 2, Golden
Fried
Freddy
piss
is
FNAF
more of
bear
a withered
moment.
animatronic design like the other wizards, which has some interesting implications. Does this mean
Calling
that
him
its
fried
parts were
piss is
also used
crazy.
in repairing the newer animatronics? If so, why then does Golden Freddy, in unused suit, get repaired for FNAF 1? Many people take this design as further evidence that Golden Freddy is more of a hallucination than a real animatronic. In FNAF 3, there's no confirmed sightings of Golden Freddy. Technically, the Fredbear suit, which eventually withers into Golden Freddy, does appear in the Happy Stay minigames. And some argue that this Easter egg you can rarely get in the corner of your office is Golden Freddy, but others argue it's Shadow Freddy. It's really hard to tell. It's kind of green, in fact. Regardless, that's literally it.
It's
FNAF
definitely
4
Golden
is an
Freddy then.
interesting one, because does Nightmare Fredbear count? On one hand, like I mentioned, Fredbear eventually withers into Golden Freddy, at least we're fairly certain. So you could argue that yes, Nightmare Fredbear is Golden Freddy. But even if you believe that, we have to then ask, what the hell is Nightmare Fredbear? Some people believe that the nightmares are dreams in the mind of the crying child and or Michael Afton. Other people theorize that the nightmares are hallucinations by gas done by William in a series of experiments. Some people even argue
Why can't it
they're
just be
real
both?
animatronics that are built to look like that. Regardless, it's hard to say, so I just assume that Nightmare Fredbear doesn't count. And if so, then the only sighting
Like,
of
just
Golden
assume that
Freddy in
they're-
any way we get is in the FNAF.
Like honestly, if you think it's Afton making them with gas, then you should just assume that it's Michael then. Like, because Michael would probably have the gassing since he killed the kid. But if it's the kid, then it's just his own dreams.
4-day minigames, where the crying child's favorite companion is a Fredbear plushie, and we see the Fredbear animatronic in Fredbear's Family Diner. Now that the weird cases are out of the way, let's get back to some unambiguous ones.
There we go.
In FNAF World, Golden Freddy is literally a named and playable character, with the moves Jump Scare, Rainy Day, and Haunting.
Rainy
and notably,
Day?
on the Golden Freddy loading screen, the phrase underneath it is "It's me." Something I've neglected to mention thus far is "It's me" is a very common common glitchy effect you see in-game, but it's heavily associated with Golden Freddy. It always increases in frequency during a Golden Freddy encounter. Moving on, Fnaf AR Special Delivery
hell no.
had Golden
He stands
Freddy as
up
one of
in
the
AR?
encounterable animatronics.
I did not know
it
that.
functioned in a similar but gamified way to its previous iterations, teleporting around the area and flashing "It's me" when in your presence. Notably, in the Dark Circus DLC, Golden Freddy actually has a custom skin called Great Escape Golden Freddy, where we see a chained up Golden Freddy that, in the Dark Circus, is left inside of a tank of water. It's a reference
What
to
the
Harry
hell?
Houdini for sure, but it's worth noting. Finally, his most prominent role in my opinion, Ultimate Custom Night, specifically as the Golden Freddy design from FNAF 2. And it works the same way. There's a random chance for Golden Freddy to appear in your office, and you have to either put on your mask or open your cameras to make him go away. Otherwise, you get a static image jump scare and you lose. But that's not all the important references to Golden Freddy in Ultimate Custom Night. Notably, if you try to use a death coin on Golden Freddy, it doesn't work. That's not super novel,
Probably
but
'cause
what
bro is
is
already
that
dead.
instead you get a Fredbear jump scare and lose. Golden Freddy essentially
yeah.
reverting to their original form and attacking. And finally, beating the hardest difficulty setting in the game
Forgot
outside
about that
of
one.
like 50-20 mode, you unlock this final cutscene with a twitching Golden Freddy fading into the distance. And that's
How's it going, sis?
all
It's
the
going well.
references to Golden Freddy in
Going
the
just fine.
games, outside of some other sparing Fredbear references, like references to Fredbear's Family Diner in Security Breach and Help Wanted and Help Wanted 2. Like I said, it's sparing at best. So, how does Golden Freddy function in other media of the franchise, notably the books and the movie? Well, Golden Freddy plays a similar role in both the Silver Eyes and the movie. From what we can see so far in the movie and what we see in the Silver Eyes, Golden Freddy acts as sort of a ringleader for the other missing child incident victims, calling the shots for them and reining them in when they've gone too far. Specifically in the movie, Golden Freddy is the one talking to and trying to make a deal with Mike. And in the
Yeah.
Silver Eyes, Golden Freddy is the one who recognizes Carlton and calls off the other animatronics once all the kids are together and safe. Not to mention, in the fourth closet, the spirit of Golden Freddy is actively trying to repair the memories of the other missing child incident victims. And it's notable that in both of these appearances, Golden Freddy is possessed by one of the victims of the missing child incident. Now, with all of this evidence of Golden Freddy and examples of him, what kind of connections can we make to illuminate a possible identity of his
So if he's so
possessor?
kind,
What do we
why does
know
he
for
sound so
sure
damn
about this
evil?
Spirit? Well, nothing really. At least nothing for sure. That's why there are so many different theories on Golden Freddy. What I've stated is literally all of the direct information we get about Golden Freddy. There are other references to Fredbear throughout
Puke yellow
these
bear
books
for
and
the
games and
purgatory
the movie.
moment.
Notably in Fazbear Frights, Fredbear appears a couple times. But as far as Golden Freddy specifically, this is pretty much it. But we can still make some pretty strong connections. Most of them from Ultimate Custom Night. Between the fact that it's the only animatronic that actively kills you if you try to death coin it, and the fact that it's the final lingering
Is that
shot
SA2
of the
music?
game, I think it's safe to assume that
Sis, look at
Golden
how-
Freddy,
look
or
at how
the
he's
spirit
stroking
within
the
it,
cat.
is the conductor
He's just-
of Ultimate Custom
just
Night.
brushing his cat. What are you talking
AKA,
about?
The vengeful spirit of Ultimate Custom Night originally resides
That's just
within
right toast
Golden
for you.
Freddy, at least throughout
Everybody
most
gets a
the
piece of the
story.
content and the
After all,
cats.
many of the mediocre melody lines that fade into someone else talking, presumably from the vengeful spirit, mention keeping William here forever. And with that in mind, seeing that the final shot of the game is Golden Freddy fading into eternity, that lines up pretty well. It feels like the game is saying, even if you beat this hell, you and me are here for good. So, if the spirit inside of Golden Freddy is the vengeful spirit, how are they creating Ultimate Custom Night? Do we have any insight on how that works? Well, believe it or not, we do in Fazbear Frights. Namely, the story, The Man in Room 1280, which shows us an outsider's perspective as to what's happening in Ultimate Custom Night. I'm not going to do full summaries of these stories because we're
I love
going
this
to be
dude's
touching
green
on a few
screen,
of them
man.
today. So,
Hilarious.
I'll give you the basic context and bare minimum for the purposes of this theory. The Man in Room
cat
1280
understands the
follows
lore.
a burnt, should-be-dead William Afton. He has two consciousnesses in his mind, and
Huh?
no matter how many times they try to kill him, they either can't or get interrupted by the spirit of a boy with curly black hair. However, he's comatose. He's barely able to move one finger to spell out letters to talk to a priest. In the later epilogues of Fazbear Frights, we learn that a boy named Andrew was this second consciousness, and was inside of William Afton's mind. He doesn't remember exactly why, but he remembers that he hated William so much that he wanted to keep him alive forever just to torture him. Starting to sound familiar? So, Fazbear Frights is establishing this character who's essentially doing an Ultimate Custom Night to William Afton. But how? What is the actual method here? Well, we get sort of an answer, but as always, it's up to interpretation. Later, even still in the epilogues, a character named Eleanor uses some agony in a way that seems very important. Agony in Five Nights at Freddy's is the energy associated with the most negative human emotion, and in the examples we get, it's able to possess things with a consciousness or manifest in different ways. Near the end of the epilogues, Eleanor is able to use her memories and the memories of a detective to trap said detective in his own mind in this weird nightmarish hellscape. And presumably she can do this with agony, since other characters in these epilogues use Remnant to do a similar thing with positive memories. So if Eleanor can do this to somebody else just by being near them, then seemingly if a boy filled with agony is inside the mind of William Afton, he should be able to do this for as long as he can. So, if in Fazbear Frights, Andrew seems to be conducting Ultimate Custom Night on William Afton, am I here to say that the vengeful spirit of the games is Andrew? While that is a very common theory, I personally disagree with it. I don't think there's compelling enough evidence within the games as of now to say that the vengeful spirit is Andrew. I'm not sure if Andrew exists within the game's timeline. So for now, I'm going to refer to the spirit of Golden Freddy as the Vengeful Spirit, and we'll circle back to their identity later. Let's first nail down how Ultimate Custom Night works. While we're still in the books, you might be asking yourself, why is Andrew able to do Ultimate Custom Night? Sure, he's in William Afton's mind, and we'll have to get to that topic too, but why does Andrew hate William more than any other William victim? I mean, William Afton killed 5 kids. Surely all of them should be able to do Ultimate Custom Night if one of them can, but only one of them does. Why is Andrew so special? Oh, I should not use "why are you so special" anymore. I'm not here to say the Vengeful Spirit is the guy from Help Wanted 2. Help Wanted 2 has ruined what makes you so special. That's a whole nother thing now. What makes Andrew different? Well, we have some possible details on his death.
One quote just drives the whole balance of the lore off.
In another Fazbear Fright story, The New Kid, a teenager is climbing down the mouth of Fredbear, and in the body, he finds the top of a head with curly black hair, which sounds a lot like Andrew's hair. So, okay, if that is the body of Andrew, then in the missing child incident, Andrew was the one.
Like, if you see an old suit, why are you sticking your hand down his mouth anyway, bro? Like, could be all kinds of bugs, mold, spiders in there, like...
One stuffed into Fredbear. Man, the cats are really getting to me today. I just sneezed 4 times off camera. But William Afton stuffed the bodies
all that
of
cat
all
hair
of
in
the
your
child
nose.
incident victims into a suit.
Bro, finally let go of the cat.
Once again, what makes Andrew different here? Well, that's where the book evidence ends. But if we go back to the games, we can start to fill in that blank. So let's translate what we've discovered so far in the books back to the games. Using the book logic, if we are to assume that Ultimate Custom Night is being conducted by the Vengeful Spirit within Golden Freddy using their agony.
Like, can I just say how much I love Ride Toast for just like leaving SA2 music in the background? Like, I've just been vibing to Aquatic Mind, like, while just listening to this.
Why is the Vengeful Spirit different than the rest of the missing child incident victims? Or to use the words of the other phantoms of Ultimate Custom Night, why is the Vengeful Spirit the one William should not have killed? Well, I've talked multiple times this year
what
about
the fuck is that? I'm so glad FNAF AR is gone, because, oh wait, no, that's the Houdini Golden Freddy he was talking about. Bro, like, what is that skin? So unnecessary. Like, what the hell is that?
Theme I've noticed in Five Nights at Freddy's, having to do with Fredbear, drowning, and red lakes. The main video I have on it is up here, and I'll have it in the TV. And in it, I mentioned several instances where these themes occur. In FNAF World and Ultimate Custom Night, we can go to Old Man Consequences, who has a red lake, and as the Fredbear sprite, we can force our way into that red lake to get a drowning ending. I also mentioned that in Tales from the Pizzaplex, there's a story called Drowning, in which there's a spirit of an angry girl at the bottom of the lakes of a water park, or really any body of water that she encounters while in this VR escape. Like I mentioned in Special Delivery, Golden Freddy has a special skin in the DLC called Great Escape Golden Freddy, and when in that skin in the DLC, Golden Freddy is in a tub of water fully submerged. In the Help Wanted Curse of Dreadbear DLC, Fall Fest of '83 is next to a giant lake, and we see Dreadbear, a cursed evil-looking version of Fredbear emerging from the lake. Not to mention, in Ruin, the DLC for Security Breach, we find that next to the underground FNAF 6 pizzeria is a giant red lake. Why does this matter? Why is, time and time again, Fredbear associated with drowning and red lakes? What could that even mean? I was stumped for a while until somebody reminded me of a passage from the very first Five Nights at Freddy's novel, The Silver Eyes. William Afton had trapped Carlton inside of a Springlock suit, and to mess with him and intimidate him a bit, he graphically describes what happens if you die via a Springlock failure, to which he says, "You'll try to scream, but you will be unable to. Your vocal cords will be severed, and your lungs will fill with your own blood until you drown in it." There was a faraway look in his eyes, and Carlton knew with chilling certainty.
So it's the pool of blood that you get from being stuck in a suit?
Blood. It's a horrible and graphic way to go, one that William has seen before. And I would think an apt metaphor for this method is drowning in a lake of red. Several times in this franchise, we hear that dying from a Springlock is a terrible, agonizing way to go. A slow, horrible death. So if William killed the other missing child incident victims and stashed their bodies in the animatronics, but for the vengeful spirit put them alive inside of the Fredbear Springlock suit and triggered the Springlocks, that might be the difference. That might cause enough agony to allow the vengeful spirit the ability to cause Ultimate Custom Night. Sure, all of the missing child incident victims want revenge on William Afton, but they get it when William Afton dies via Springlock. The vengeful spirit, though, is not satisfied there. So, if we accept that for now, that's all well and fine, and it explains why the vengeful spirit is able to create Ultimate Custom Night partially. In Fazbear Frights, Andrew is connected to William Afton, literally sharing a spot in his brain.
3D
so, presumably, the vengeful spirit would also need to be connected to William Afton in some way. How would that happen? Well, frankly, I'd been stumped on there for a while, and then Stormister on YouTube just straight up had a great theory on it. It's one of the few theory videos that I've watched, and I'm like, damn, they just kind of nailed that. And I've just accepted the theory moving forward. You should really go watch their full video to get the full context of the video, but essentially for the purposes of this theory, after the events of FNAF 3 and after the fire, Springtrap also needed to do repairs on himself. One, because of the fire, but two, to better combat the coding inside of Springtrap's suit that forces him to follow audio lures. So, what better place to source pieces for your original Springlock suit than its partner, Fredbear? This even lines up with what Molten Freddy and Scrap Baby do after Sister Location, rebuild themselves. Springtrap rebuilds himself using pieces of the Fredbear suit, and in doing so, William Afton is taking the vengeful spirit's soul and affixing it to himself, eventually causing his ultimate downfall. Now they're in the same cobbled together suit, almost like a remnant injection, or more aptly, an agony infection. Okay, to a point, I get it. So far, this theory solves the easier parts of Golden Freddy. What is Golden Freddy doing in the franchise, and then what does the spirit inside of Golden Freddy do
I'm gonna do this live on video. I'm gonna go tell Rightos he's just goaded for leaving.
There was a child who was
Sonic Adventure 2 music
placed inside of a Springlock suit, and then their spirit had such an agony-fueled vendetta against William Afton that once they got the opportunity by being connected to William Afton, they were able to create the Ultimate Custom Night, trapping William forever in his own torment. I didn't even get to the fact that in Fazbear's Frights, Andrew, the character with enough agony to do Ultimate Custom Night, when Andrew touches someone as part of the Stitch Wraith, or rather, it's a little convoluted. When the Stitch Wraith touches someone by being powered from Andrew, which could be partially William, it's a whole thing. But anyway, there's enough agony that just by touching someone, they instantly shrivel up and die. And I don't know about you, but that seems like a pretty good explanation for the Golden Freddy jump scares. After all, every other jump scare shows some kind of violent action happening. I mean, except for Springtrap, he just kind of mews at you. But Golden Freddy just looks at you, and then you're dead, which lines up with that agony death. So that's all well and good, but if I don't think that Andrew is the vengeful spirit, then who is? Well, frankly, I think we only have one real lead on who Golden Freddy might be, and that happens to be in
the books.
The security logbook.
Of course.
So let's go over that. Throughout the Five Nights at Freddy's security logbook, there are 3 speakers that you can find. One writes in red ink, One writes in faded text,
Not
and the
funny.
other one alters the text already printed on the page. So for moving on, I'll call them red ink, faded, and altered. What's really important here is that I believe these speakers are having a sort of conversation. Faded text is trying to bring forth memories of altered text and help them in any way. And I believe that altered text and red ink are trying to help faded remember their name. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up Dual Process's timeline here. After all, I'm pretty sure their timeline is what inspired so many creators to make a Golden Freddy video this summer. Anyway,
Yeah.
I want to be very explicitly clear. I am not here to say that Dual Process or any other theorist is wrong. Very, very, very few FNAF theories are ever wrong. I disagree with a lot of Five Nights at Freddy's theories. In fact, I disagree with whole interpretations of this series, but that doesn't mean they're incorrect. 99% of the time, when theories differ on the same topic, it just comes down to how you interpret the evidence we have. Most of this franchise is very loose and very speculative evidence that can be interpreted in many different ways. Like I've said thousands of times on this channel, you could make dozens of fully fleshed out, 100% in-depth Five Nights at Freddy's timelines, and all of them could be completely different.
He is
and
cooking.
all of them could be fully evidentiarily backed because there is so many gaps in the information we have. That's part of the reason why this franchise is so fun to theorize and
It's kind of crazy how he has to like go and explain this though, because people are gonna start getting mad.
Speculate about. It really comes down to how you interpret these vague clues that we have. So just because I disagree with the theory doesn't mean I'm saying it's incorrect. That's not what I'm saying.
Like he has to
I'm
talk
just saying
about this
I
just to
interpret
stop people from getting
differently.
pissed.
And that's where I sit with Dual Processes and many other
Insane.
interpretations of Golden Freddy. But specifically talking about the logbook, because that's been recently brought up. I believe that this logbook is showing us faded text has forgotten their name, but altered text has forgotten most everything. It's a very common theme in Five Nights at Freddy's that once you die, your memories become fragmented and hard to parse, especially if your body is missing. And although it seems like faded text is really trying to help altered remember anything, faded text seems to not remember things themselves. That is where altered and red text come in. All of the clues that elucidate the name in the word search of this book are given to us by red ink or altered text. So, who are these characters that we're reading? Well, it's stated in the front that red ink is Mike. It literally says the book belongs... Oh, you cannot see it with my lighting. It says the book belongs to Mike in red text right at the front. I mean, that's pretty unambiguous. So
Yeah.
then who are altered and faded? Well, the altered text seems to be the crying child, and most people agree with that. After all, the things the altered texts say are pretty, I guess, like crying child coded. Things like I can't see, I'm scared, and a lot of the questions pointed to the altered text resonate with the crying child. Things like, do any of these toys look familiar to you? Do one of these belong to you? And there we've got a phone that looks like the phone from the FNAF 4 bedroom. So a lot of people agree that the altered text definitely seems to be the crying child. So then who is the faded text? Well, I believe the name we get out of the word search, Cassidy, is the faded text, and that this is telling us a story of Michael communicating with two of the spirits of this franchise. Two spirits that are trying to help each other and trying to receive help from Michael. So why do I think Faded is the one whose name is
Michael's
Cassidy?
better than me.
Well,
I would
simply
have closed
put,
that book.
Faded
Too damn
text
ghosts in
writes
my notebook.
name
I'll just
so
go buy a
many
new one at the
times in
store,
this book.
honestly.
Like, just flipping through it, there's one.
too much
there's
work.
the one on the graveyard. On the page with the drawings.
Plus, he
there's
definitely
another.
don't get
On
paid
this
enough
page
for that
about
shit.
For tonight's shift, my name. And what's most notable is the pages that say the word my name in faded text are the same
My name in
pages
faded text,
where
yeah.
you get the hints
Shut the book.
for the crossword. So if faded text is writing my name, and then altered or red ink gives us a hint to numbers to the solving, this story, I believe, is Michael Afton reaching out to Cassidy and the crying child, trying to help them regain any possible memories they might still have. And Cassidy and
It's
the
gotta
crying
suck
child
to die and
trying
then
to
forget
help each
everything.
other.
Like, you don't
In
even know
fact,
why
I
you
think
need to
Cassidy
be
and the crying
pissed.
child are very close, but don't let the alarm bells ring yet. I don't believe that they're in the same animatronic. I'm not here to argue that there are two spirits within Golden Freddy. Frankly, I don't think there are. I think Golden Freddy is solely inhabited by Cassidy. So then the next logical question would be, where's the crying child, and why does Golden Freddy say, "It's me"? One of the closest links to Golden Freddy having
To be fair, none of the red
partial
ink
possession by the
messages
crying
actually
child
directly
was the
communicate
repeated
with the
use of
spirits.
phrase,
They're all in
"It's
reference
me."
to whoever
After all,
prompt is
most
on
of
the
the time we
page.
see "It's me" in game, Michael Afton is the player, and Michael Afton's little brother reaching out to say "it's me" makes a lot of sense. At least a lot more sense than Cassidy, some random kid saying it. So am I saying that Cassidy is the one saying "it's me"? No. I still think the crying child is saying that, but I don't think the crying child is saying that within Golden Freddy. One of my biggest problems for two spirits being within Golden Freddy is I've never seen a good reason for the crying child to end up inside of Golden Freddy. After all, it seems very clear to me that in FNAF 4, the crying child is put into some sort of coma after being bitten by Fredbear.
Yo, if y'all were watching my video yesterday on FNAF AI images, like disturbing ones, you'll know why I have PTSD looking at this. There was one where Fredbear's arm like extended, and then the kid's body like moved away, but the head was still in his mouth. That shit's fucked.
In FNAF 4, the crying child is put into some sort of coma after being bitten by Fredbear, and then is taken back to his house.
The crying child
to live
straight
out
up
his
gets
last final
decapitated,
days until
yeah.
eventually dying. I also believe
Fucked.
that afterwards, his body is buried in an unmarked grave in the woods, the very same lump we see in Midnight Motorist. So, if the crying child's body is buried in the woods and not in an animatronic, how would his soul be partially
Guillotine
possessing Golden
Fredbear.
Freddy? It wouldn't. I think the crying child's soul is lost. And to better explain what I mean by that, we need one more story from the books, Alone Together. This is a very interesting story from Tales from the Pizzaplex.
Is that
Not
Mario
necessarily
Odyssey in the
for
background?
characters within it,
Definitely
but the
is.
plot and what it tells us about spirits and possession in Five Nights at Freddy's. In Alone Together, we learn that part of this universe is that if your body remains undiscovered after your death, you cannot move on. And often, your memories are lost. The grandma of our main character tells him that lost spirits will often wander around the places they did when they were alive, and they might not even know they're dead until their body is discovered by themselves or someone else. And then all of their memories come back and they can finally rest. This, I think, lines up perfectly with the crying child. The crying child always seems pretty lost and scared, and if the crying child was taken from the hospital to rest and recover at home, but instead died and was buried in the woods, his body would likely be unknown to many people, most especially himself. He might not know he's even dead, instead wandering around the places he used to go when he was alive, like Fredbear's, Freddy's, and his home. And when he sees Michael, he reaches out to him saying, "It's me," which is why in FNAF 1, you can get "It's me" randomly throughout the game, not just with Golden Freddy. So why? Sure, I think "It's me" appearing without Golden Freddy is solid evidence for the crying child to not be there, but why does "It's me" kick up so much when Golden Freddy is there? My best guess right now, scary dog privilege. Throughout the life
Scary
of the crying
dog
child,
privilege.
the Fredbear plushie is his best friend. I believe his father talks through a walkie-talkie into this plushie, so the crying child even believes this plushie is alive and can have conversations with him, to the point that when the crying child dies, he sees the voices of those around him as that Fredbear plushie. He trusts it more than anything, but after death, he's lost and confused and alone, until eventually other spirits start popping up. One of those spirits inextricably linked to Fredbear. We see in the fourth closet that in the afterlife, when you're still lost and wandering, you see things differently. The Missing Child Incident kids see William Afton, a decrepit man in a wheelchair, as a funny bunny character, the one they know and love, their friend. So I believe that when Cassidy
I didn't know all
sees
that.
the crying child in the afterlife and reaches out to him, he sees his Fredbear plushie, the friend that he loved for all of his life. And from then on, the crying
Psychic
child
friend
stays
Fredbear.
by his Fredbear plushie as close as he can. Golden Freddy acts as sort of a protector for the other children in the movie and in the books. And I can even see a similar role in the games. Charlotte is the one trying to find ways to have these souls rest and move on. But in the meantime, Cassidy is the one to protect them. And where Cassidy goes, the crying child follows, following his old friend, psychic friend Fredbear. I
There it
made
is.
this GIF to hopefully better explain what I'm
Post-death
trying to say here. It's a
CCPOV,
little off the beaten path, I
post-death
know.
IRL.
Since you can have "It's me" without
Death
Golden Freddy,
CC.
What I'm trying to say here is that it's not Golden Freddy saying it's me. The crying child is wandering around Freddy's, seeing some of his old friends, and every now and then seeing Michael, his older brother. And he'll say it's me, but Michael doesn't react. But then, when he's following Cassidy, and Cassidy goes to Michael, he tries to get Michael's attention. It's me. Look away, it's me, it'll be safe, don't look at Cassidy. And hopefully, Michael listens. So to summarize the story of Golden Freddy, the crying child, already lost in the afterlife, is wandering around these locations. And one day, William Afton takes the 5th victim of the missing child incident and places their body in the springlock suit of Golden Freddy, killing Cassidy.
Damn.
From then on, Cassidy acts as a sort of vengeful protector of the other children, especially the lost and confused crying child. The crying child often sticking by the side of Cassidy, or in his eyes, Fredbear, until eventually one fateful day, William dismantles the Fredbear suit and attaches pieces of it to himself, trying to repair the burnt husk of Springtrap, forming Scraptrap. But in that moment, Cassidy, the spirit within Fredbear, attaches itself to William's soul. And once William is weakened and nearly killed from FNAF 6, in that moment, Cassidy creates Ultimate Custom Night, keeping William alive and torturing him forever. Meanwhile, Charlotte and the other souls create FNAF World to hopefully locate the crying child's body so he can finally rest. Did that make any sense? Golden Freddy is a really weird topic.
You know, probably does, probably doesn't. It's FNAF.
And I think there's enough evidence that it's at least plausible.
Probably makes sense,
But what
probably
do you
doesn't.
think? What is
That's where I'm
your interpretation of Golden Freddy? I'd love to hear it below. In the meantime, if you're done with hearing me talk about old books and you want to hear about new books, last week I made a
It's just, there's so much discussion around that robot, man, that I can't even, like, make my own, like, thoughts on it. Too many. We're just gonna make a stream highlight of the very first video. And then we're gonna watch another one. But yeah, I don't know. I just think that there's like one of them in the suit. I don't think there's like 15 of them. Or like 2 of them, I should say. One per suit. Makes it simpler. Honestly. There we go. Alright. Let's go to the next one. Solving the new lore.
The first week of August.
Oh, no, that's not new. This one's pretty new, and I haven't watched this FNAF Theorist before.
The most important Golden Freddy is one of
Today we're reacting to Golden Freddy's True Identity FNAF Theory by ID's Fantasy, so make sure you guys subscribe to them and hit that like button. If you are watching the live, or if you're not watching the live stream, you should tune in and come see us watch some FNAF theories together.
of the most important characters in Five Nights at Freddy's, and as a result, there have been quite a few theories about who the spirit or spirits possessing it and what their roles in the story are. However, while some of these theories have been the majority opinion for longer than I've been a fan of the franchise, one recent theory put out by the channel Dual Process Theory suggests that not only are those theories incorrect, but everything we thought about Golden Freddy and its role in the story is completely wrong. From new perspectives on the events of Ultimate Custom Night and the Missing Children incident, to reinterpreting the survival logbook, the co-hosts of the channel, Corey and Connie, bring an interesting new theory to the table. But does that
They
theory
really
hold
killed
up? Are
the
they right to
whole-
say it's time to rethink?
They really killed what everybody thought was like the series, honestly. These two, they make one video, then all the theorists are just like jumbled the hell up.
The lore? Who's
We
really
need more
possessing
people
Golden
like
Freddy,
that.
and just what part do they actually
Just
play in the timeline?
just to
well,
spread more
stay tuned and
seeds
consider
that distract
subscribing, because I plan
theorists.
to not only answer these questions, but also address how this debate relates to the theorizing community as a whole. First, I want to clarify that I will not be going into this video with the mindset that the Fazbear Frights books are in the game continuity. While the game Into the Pit has reignited debate on the topic, as it is a game based on the first story in the series, the book series itself contradicts the games in several pretty major ways, such as having the guard at FNAF 3's location be some random guy who dies and sets the place on fire after one night on the job rather than surviving all 6, having Funtime Freddy chilling in some dude's garage rather than being an Ennard, and the puppet gets dumped in a lake after Pizzeria Simulator. Meanwhile, we see its tearless mask present under the Pizzaplex in Security Breach. Scott Cawthon, the creator of the franchise, did say that some stories and frights are directly connected to the games, but directly connected does not mean directly canon, and could easily be referring to stories like the one with the alternate Fnaf 3, where there are direct connections to the game, but it's still a different series of events. Because of this, while I do plan to reference frights for evidence, in this video I won't really be addressing the theory that the Fazbear Frights character Andrew is literally in the game continuity filling the role that many fans attribute to Golden Freddy. Instead, the theories I'm primarily going to focus on are the one the majority of the community has generally held as correct in some form or another, the counter theory that has taken the community by storm, and my own personal thoughts on the matter. The most commonly held theory in the community has generally been that Golden Freddy is possessed by 2 spirits. The first one is the crying child in Fnaf 4, who died after being stuck in the mouth of the Fredbear animatronic by his older brother Michael. After that, he was taken to the hospital, where one voice, presumably Michael, apologized, and another, who many assume to be his father, series serial killer William Afton, promised to put him back together. From there, people suggest that William found a way to transfer his soul into the Fredbear animatronic, which would eventually become Golden Freddy, after some modifications were made to it before FNAF 2 that ended up changing the top hat and bow tie from purple to black. After all, under certain circumstances in Ultimate Custom Night, you can get jump scared by Fredbear in place of Golden Freddy, so it seems incredibly likely that the two are one and the same. Meanwhile, the second spirit would be Cassidy, one of the children killed by William in the missing children incident mentioned in—
By the way, I'm listening, but I'm also filling in the information for the stream highlight on another tab, if you're wondering why I'm so quiet.
in the FNAF 1 newspapers, and in the spin-off novel trilogy, The Silver Eyes, which, despite not being in the game timeline, shares the fact that kids were lured to the back room of Freddy's by William Afton wearing the Spring Bonnie mascot costume, and stuffed in the animatronics to hide their bodies. Cassidy in the books was in the Bonnie animatronic, but as the child possessing Golden Freddy in the novel trilogy doesn't exist in the games, and a game-specific character, Jeremy, is attributed to Bonnie instead, she would have been stuffed in the Fredbear animatronic, leading to her sharing the suit with the crying child who was already there. The evidence for this theory comes from a couple sources, such as Golden Freddy having two eyes lit up in the bad ending of FNAF 3, while the other animatronics only had one, potentially suggesting Golden Freddy had two spirits instead of a single spirit like the others, and in addition to the survival logbook basically confirming that Michael Afton and the Mike Schmidt we play as in FNAF 1 are the same person, it seems to have conversations between two spirits, one using faded text and the other altered text, where one reveals their name to be Cassidy, and various objects connected to the crying child are connected to the altered text spirit as well. On top of this, one of the clues needed to find the name Cassidy is found by one of the spirits writing the words "my name" in faded text on a drawing of a tombstone by Michael, linking back to how at the end of the game Pizzeria Simulator, we see the names of 4 out of the 5 kids linked to the missing children incident, which, in conjunction with Cassidy being the name—
High key, it was so evil for Scott to do this. Like, we finally learned their names, but then we only get, like, fucking 4 of them. Like, come on, man.
of one of the kids in the books would imply that the Cassidy in this continuity would be the 5th, more mysterious and plot-relevant animatronic, Golden Freddy, and the one missing name on the gravestone. This plot relevance culminates in Ultimate Custom Night, where we play as William Afton himself, trapped in a nightmare coma, though some interpret it as a legitimate afterlife of torment, inflicted by the vengeful spirit of one of his victims. And since beating the game's hardest game mode gives the player a cutscene of Golden Freddy twitching off into the darkness, it's generally believed that Cassidy would be this vengeful spirit. This would seemingly then be paralleled in Fazbear Frights with the characters Jake and Andrew, where Andrew was one of the children William Afton killed, who trapped William in a nightmare coma, and Jake was a boy who died of a head tumor. Both Jake and Andrew end up possessing an animatronic called the Stitch Wraith, where Jake had control of the body's sight and movement due to possessing the head, and Andrew was in the Stitch Wraith's power source and lacked the ability to see. As Jake and the crying child both died due to head-related issues, and Cassidy and Andrew were both kids
Head-related issues?
Meanwhile, the altered text in the survival logbook mentioned being unable to see, the general view of the Fright situation is that Jake parallels the crying child, while Andrew parallels Cassidy, with both of them possessing the same animatronic, but having their roles in terms of control functionally swapped. As in the games, the crying child can't see, while Cassidy would be in control of sight and movement. The thing is, a lot of this evidence is speculative, and that
Was that on the top right?
while Cassidy
Right,
having
top
their
left.
roles in terms of control functionally swapped. As in the games, the crying child can't see, while Cassidy would be in control of sight and
Theoretically.
movement. The thing is, a lot of this evidence is speculative, and that's where Dual Process Theory's video comes in. In their theory, they suggest that the evidence that was used to say that Cassidy and the crying child were two separate people possessing one animatronic was completely misinterpreted. After all, the only reason Jake and Andrew had different levels of control over the Stitch Wraith was because they were possessing different parts of it that were eventually combined. Something that isn't implied at all to be the case in the game.
Watch FNAF AI for 24 hours straight and I will give you $1,000. I will not believe it till I see it.
Game, since Cassidy's body would have been put entirely into the animatronic. And on the topic of Cassidy, the source for Cassidy being a female missing child is the Silver Eyes novel trilogy, which already has one missing kid who doesn't match the game's Michael Brooks. Scott has reused names for characters before, such as the several Jeremys in this franchise, and just as there is a Michael Afton in the games and not a Michael Brooks, there could then be a Cassidy Afton instead of the Cassidy we see in the novels. The name Cassidy is, after all, revealed in a word search where there is also altered text saying it's me. So why wouldn't the name Cassidy belong to the spirit speaking through the altered text? Additionally, in Help Wanted 2, we find action figures and memory dolls corresponding with each animatronic. But rather than two Golden Freddy dolls or action figures, we only have one of each, potentially indicating only one soul actually present in the Golden Freddy animatronic. While the second eye lit up in FNAF 3's bad ending would potentially work as evidence towards two spirits, dual process theory argues that this would be representing Charlie, a spirit who was also around for FNAF 3 and as of a few games later ended up inside the animatronic Lefty, a bear with a golden eye who captured the puppet animatronic she was possessing so her father Henry could release the spirits in the Pizzeria Simulator fire. Additionally, at the end of Pizzeria Simulator, the grave that's presumably Charlie's is behind all the others, similar to how Golden Freddy's head in FNAF 3's ending is behind the other four. Charlie could then also be the faded text in the logbook, where she tries to help the crying child remember who he is, possibly to help him move on, similar to the role she plays in FNAF 3. Alternatively, the channel hosts also suggest that this could be William Afton, as it seems possible that the reason William's suit looks different in Pizzeria Simulator compared to FNAF 3 is because he used parts of Golden Freddy to alter his suit after the FNAF 3 fire. Specifically, they propose that William Afton was able to upgrade his suit in this way because the spring-lock suit Michael Afton gets temporarily stuck in during Sister Location is actually the Golden Freddy suit, having been relocated to Sister Location, where William would know it would be, after the events of FNAF 1, evidenced by having similarly shaped eye sockets, and Scott Cawthon declining to specify the identity of this spring-lock suit during the interview he gave several years ago. Also, as a note for those who may not be familiar, a spring-lock suit is an animatronic where its mechanical parts are held to the sides of the suit by spring locks to fit a human performer inside. However, the spring locks are a bit unstable, and when they malfunction, all the animatronic parts return to their original locations, aka where the person's body was. Anyway, the theory that this suit is Golden Freddy suit during the interview he gets stable, and when they malfunction, all the animatronic parts return to their original location.
I swear I never get tired of seeing that. Like bro just had like tons of holes in him simultaneously and just started dripping like a blood pinata, bro.
aka where the person's body was. Anyway, the theory that this suit is Golden Freddy is also their proof that not only was Cassidy the crying child, but that there was no fifth missing kid. Rather, the fifth kid linked to the disappearances was the crying child himself. They propose that, since the bodies were never reported to be found, they would have never been removed from the animatronics. Then, operating off the theory that the Sister Location springlock suit is Golden Freddy, Mike being able to get inside the suit would mean that there was no missing kid's body left in there in the first place. Because of this, they suggest that after the crying child got bitten by Fredbear, he didn't die in the hospital, but was taken home by William, who wanted to help him recover. He stayed at home in his coma until William ended up killing the other kids and finding out about Remnant, and then was put by William into the Fredbear suit and intentionally spring-locked to make him possess it. However, Fredbear didn't respond, and since there would have been spring-lock scars on the body, it would be clear that Cassidy hadn't died from his coma. As such, William hid the body in a box to explain the purpose of the unopened box were shown at the end of FNAF 4. Around this same time, because a man in a costume was suspected to be behind the murders and someone was convicted according to the newspaper articles we see in FNAF 1, dual process theory explains that William and his business partner Henry, who would be familiar with the springlock suits and how to use them, would have been questioned by the police. William would have then used his own child mysteriously vanishing from his bed as an alibi for just being another grieving parent, and Henry would have been arrested and convicted. Because of this, and because how in Help Wanted 2, there are graves representing each animatronic that need to be lit in a certain order to unlock a secret, with the puppet being the last one, Henry's daughter Charlie would have then been killed after this point. Their timeline of events then have the events of FNAF 2, the opening and closing of Sister Location's predecessor location, then FNAF 1, with Golden Freddy being moved by William to Sister Location after that, followed by William's springlocking and the events of Sister Location, then FNAF 3, Pizzeria Simulator, and Ultimate Custom Night. Ultimate Custom Night is where they suggest some more things need to be changed around from the usual interpretations of events. They suggest that, rather than Golden Freddy, the character actually tormenting William in that game would be his other son, Michael Afton. Their evidence for this is that, while the vengeful spirit is portrayed as a child and described as the one you, meaning William, shouldn't have killed, the fact that Mike was killed by the Funtime animatronics, who thought they were killing William after Mike was sent to Sister Location by his father, would qualify his death as being the result of William's actions, and give him a solid reason to be vengeful and stick around after dying. crying. On top of this, the vengeful spirit forces William to essentially go through what Mike had to during the events of the games, functionally taking the role of a security guard fending off animatronics. The clip we see if the hardest game mode is beaten would then not be a sign that Golden Freddy was the one keeping him trapped. Instead, dual process theory states that this isn't actually Golden Freddy at all. It's whole and not withered, Fredbear before he was Golden Freddy, with Cassidy's body inside being spring-locked, William Afton's biggest regret. Except that's not exactly possible, is it? While all of this may sound fine on the surface, there are actually a few major issues with the theory as Corey and Connie present it. For example, the shot we see in Ultimate Custom Night may not match withered Golden Freddy like we see in FNAF 2, but it doesn't match Fredbear with his purple hat and bow tie either. In fact, it looks pretty much exactly like Golden Freddy in FNAF 1, where it was repaired from its withered state after the events of FNAF 2, just under different lighting. The fact that they flat out say that this isn't Golden Freddy and is definitely Fredbear in its prime before ever getting withered is a misrepresentation of one of the few facts we actually have in the series, and while I don't think they intentionally meant to mislead their audience, this isn't the only example of incorrect information or things being misrepresented in this video. They refer to the scooper as a remnant extractor while displaying on screen the blueprint.
I must have not caught that when I was watching it, because I definitely would have corrected that.
That confirm it to be a
Maybe I
remnant
was too
injector,
locked in.
which is more likely to be the cause for why Michael was still around after Sister Location rather than just his desire for vengeance on William. They also say that Charlie had to be the last to die because of the grave order in Help Wanted 2, but it could just as easily be representing how her mask was the last to fall on the happiest day ending of FNAF 3, or the back left positioning of her grave at the end of Pizzeria Simulator, something that seems significantly more likely given the fact that in Pizzeria Simulator, her father Henry specifically says that he was the first one impacted by William's actions, something that wouldn't make sense if multiple other kids died before his own. They say that the eye sockets of the Sister Location Springlock suit match up with the inside of the Golden Freddy suit in the trailer for Into the Pit, but not only are the eyes not the correct shape, but Golden Freddy doesn't have faceplates. And there's a world of difference between faceplates that are attached to the head but can open up, and the fact that Bonnie can have his entire face as one whole piece removed. This issue in particular is a major one, since Golden Freddy being the Sister Location Springlock suit is what a large portion of their theory relies on. It's their evidence that there was no body in the Golden Freddy suit, and therefore no actual fifth missing kid. With this being the case, even if the name Cassidy did belong to the crying child and not a different kid William killed, the theory that there was no fifth missing kid other than the crying child loses.
Someone said I don't like how vague FNAF's writing is. I mean, I'm not gonna say somebody. Random fan of Scarecrow said that. Yeah, I don't like that either. Like, I feel like maybe like FNAF 6 shouldn't have been like so vague. If it was like the ending of the first arc of, well, I'm gonna call it the Fredbear's arc, since, you know, everything started at Fredbear's and then led to FNAF 6's burning of everything and assuming everything is gone now and everyone's put to rest. So I'm gonna call it the Fredbear arc. Like, if FNAF 6 was the ending of the Fredbear arc, maybe we should have got more lore and more explanations on what happened before the security breach arc starts, which is like its own story now.
A lot of its credibility, especially when you consider that there would be no point in William removing the crying child from the suit in the first place. After all, the whole point of him putting the bodies in the suits was so that they wouldn't be found. So it doesn't make sense for William to springlock his child, then remove the body out of concern that the body that was just as hidden as the others would be recognized, and then proceed to tell the authorities that his kid was kidnapped. He could just have said that the kidnapper took his kid, and if the body was found in the springlock suit, say that the kidnapper was the one who put him there. Relatedly, and this is a bit of an aside, but while I do think the idea that Henry was the one accused and convicted is cool, I have my doubts. While the FNAF 1 newspaper does say that someone was convicted, that same article instead says that the suspect was charged, which is not the same thing as being convicted or proven guilty of a crime. I think it's likely that when Scott wrote that, he didn't realize the difference in the terminology, particularly given the fact that in installments in the franchise that came later, he seems to emphasize that William was the one primarily suspected, but it was the lack of bodies that led to no conviction taking place and William going free. Which checks out given another one of the newspapers mentions that security footage identified the killer and the police only think he lured the kids using a mascot costume. But tangent aside, Golden Freddy not being the Sister Location Springlock suit isn't the only thing that undermines the argument that there was no fifth missing kid. After all, look at the Foxy Go 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 minigame in FNAF 2, where we're shown William smiling and the bodies of 5 kids. If the 5th kid was meant to be the crying child who William was trying to save, why would William be smiling? Why would the crying child be grouped in with the others at Freddy's for Foxy to find? Even if Help Wanted 2 only shows 1 Fredbear of each collectible and only 6 graves like Pizzeria Simulator, the reason for this isn't that the 5th missing kid is the crying child, but it's more likely
Honestly, Scott should try to point theorists in the right direction with their theories instead of sitting behind the screens watching them try and solve this very complex, confusing story. I mean, if everybody knew the damn story, then there'd be no point in playing the games too. Well, I don't know. Maybe it would be okay to talk about the previous game, but like, I guess he also doesn't want to risk saying too much because he knows how smart his community is or how fast it would be to jump on something he says.
Because William didn't kill the crying child, Michael did. And as such, lumping the crying child in with the other missing kids wouldn't make much sense in the context of showing William's victims. Relatedly, the argument for Cassidy being the name of the crying child, while understandable, is rather flawed as well. While dual process theory—
Plus, high key, if I knew some people in my fan base kind of get a little pissy when it comes to a storybook that my team wrote to give them content, I probably wouldn't dive into the lore anyway. So yeah, like, I don't know, some people be getting pissed off over a FNAF book on Twitter, so if he were to say like, oh, it's actually this, and this is why I wrote that, think about how many people would just have pitchforks over a fucking book, so...
He argues that the name being revealed in the word search containing altered text means the name belongs to the speaker with altered text. This completely negates the fact that all the hints that lead to the clues to solve for the name in the first place read my name. Not your name or his name, but my name.
We're just too out of touch to understand Scott's
writing the faded
Probably
text.
too.
In fact, this is actually backed up via the altered text in the word search. Dual process theory mentions that on the page opposite the word search, there's a mirror with the question, what do you see, underneath it in faded text, and suggests that the word search would then contain the crying child's answer, it's me, Cassidy. However, what they seem to mostly ignore outside of a passing mention are the two other sentences that appear in the word search, who are—
Could you... Sorry for pausing a lot. It's just some of these comments are in the live stream are really interesting. Like, imagine what Mr. Mustachio says. Like, we're just like too out of touch to understand Scott's writing. What if Mike Schmidt was Golden Freddy the whole time, and that's why a fucking mirror was put there? You know? Like, what if we were never meant to find Cassidy? What if we were just meant to look at that and be like, oh, we're Golden Freddy? He was never alive the whole time? I don't know.
And suggests that the word search would then contain the crying child's answer, it's me, Cassidy. However, what they seem to mostly ignore outside of a passing mention are the two other sentences that appear in the word search. Who are you, and what is your name? The crying child's response to being asked what he sees in the mirror isn't it's me, Cassidy. His answer to what he sees is just it's me, followed by the questions, who are you, and what's your name? Which the faded text spirit answers in turn by making use of alterations to the book made by the crying child and Michael Afton to spell out their own name, Cassidy. Because of this, I think that the evidence for the crying child and Cassidy being separate people seems much more straightforward. And I think it's a similar case for Cassidy being the vengeful spirit instead of Mike. Every time we see a vengeful spirit in FNAF, it's a child who was killed by William Afton. The Fazbear Frights continuity has Andrew, and the FNAF movie has a blonde boy who is shown being lured by William Afton at the very beginning of the movie. Why would it be any different here, where we're told that someone William killed, not someone William got killed, but someone he should not have killed but did, is the one who trapped him in
After
ultimate
watching all of this,
custom.
I'm
As much
gonna
as I
make
do
my
see
own
the
theory.
evidence that dual
And
process
you guys
theory
aren't ready to
presented
hear
for
what I
Michael,
have
I don't
to
think
say.
it's substantial enough for the theory to work when put up against the counter evidence.
You know what? I'm gonna make this a stream highlight right now. All right. August 10th, I am going to do a Five Nights at Freddy's theory, and it is going to be posted on the channel. This Five Nights at Freddy's theory is something that you are not ready for. Not ready for it. Nothing that anybody has said. All right. Because I got something in my brain, all right? And I feel like we all need to hear it as a collective audience. That is my stream highlight. Wait, why? No, please. Come back. Why is this not working? Oh. Wait. It's so stupid that you can't listen to a stream highlight.
More straightforward.
Oh, yes, you
And I
can.
think it's a similar case for Cassidy being the vengeful continuity. As I do
my
see
own
the
theory.
evidence that dual
And you
process.
guys
And here, where we're told that someone William killed, not someone William got killed, but someone
Wait,
he should not have
trying to get to the
killed
part.
but did, is the
Bear
one
with
who
me. You
trapped
know what?
him in
After
ultimate
watching all of this,
custom. Have killed but did, is the one who
You know
trapped
what?
him in
After
ultimate
watching all of
custom.
this,
As
I'm
much
gonna
as I
make
do
my
see
own
the
theory.
evidence that dual
CistReactZ FNAF theory coming soon. Let's hear his magnificent theory. Oh no, you guys are not ready for it. I'm gonna have it done by the anniversary of Fnaf. Alright, we're going back to the theory video that I keep pausing, I'm sorry.
Right off the vengeful spirit looking and sounding like a child, as Mike just appearing at the age he started being traumatized, but my first question if this is the case is where did his British accent go? And my second is why would Scott tell the vengeful spirit's voice actor that the gender of the spirit should be unclear? Additionally, as far as we can tell, spirits manifest at the age they died, whether that be as a child, such as in the case of the missing kids, or as an adult, like William in Fazbear Frights, and this one kid's grandma in Tales from the Pizzaplex. I don't believe we've ever actually seen any instances of a spirit manifesting as a different age than they actually were when they died. Dual process theory also talks about how one line in Ultimate Custom Night proves that Henry isn't the vengeful spirit because the spirit refers to Henry in the third person, saying, "He tried to release you, he tried to release us." But they neglect to mention how that very quote ends with the spirit referring to a second person trying to release the spirits as well, when they say they'd keep William trapped no matter how many times they burn us. This indicates not just Henry as an outside party, but someone else who had also attempted to burn them. The only fire besides Pizzeria Simulator by this point in the franchise is the one we see in FNAF 3, where the guard sees hallucinatory phantoms of animatronics from FNAF 1 and 2 before eventually setting the building on fire on the last night. In order to have hallucinations of those animatronics, it would make sense for the player to have seen them before, and since we play as Mike in FNAF 1 and most likely on the last night of FNAF 2, not to mention it would make sense if we played as Mike at some point in each of the first 6 games to connect the narrative, this guard was likely Michael Afton. As such, this line from Ultimate Custom Night implies that not only is Henry an outside party, but so is Michael. This, combined with the issue of the vengeful spirit's depiction as an American child that William specifically shouldn't have killed, is enough for me to say that Michael being the vengeful spirit doesn't seem particularly likely with the evidence we have. Though if Michael doesn't work as the vengeful spirit, that brings me to another point that dual process theory makes. Why Cassidy? What makes Cassidy the one William shouldn't have killed? What makes Cassidy so special? Well, other than how I'm pretty sure the title of the one you should not have killed mostly just stems from the fact that if William hadn't killed them, he wouldn't have ended up in Ultimate Custom Night, I think part of what makes Cassidy so special is the fact that Cassidy is connected to Golden Freddy. While Michael represents the human side of the first 6 games arc, Cassidy represents the spirits. While Michael has his arc of killing his brother to having his own life ruined by his father to helping try and bring everything to an end in Pizzeria Simulator, Golden Freddy has its own significance in the story as well. It appears as a specter in the first 2 games, and in FNAF 3, we see a 5th spirit chase William into the Spring Bonnie suit he gets spring locked in after he tears the other 4 animatronics apart. Events that I would like to note probably take place before FNAF 1, as Fungi seems to have been alive for when Fazbear Entertainment found and sealed William in the room after the fact, but that is besides the point. Additionally, one of FNAF 3's potential endings centers around giving a Golden Freddy spirit their happiest day, allowing all the other spirits the ability to move on. FNAF 4 is all about the events centering on the
I'm gonna get so much shit for my theory. That's why I'm like kind of laughing to myself right now.
Crying Child and Fredbear, and while Sister Location and Pizzeria Simulator don't highlight the presence of Golden Freddy, Ultimate Custom Night does. Not only do we see Golden Freddy if the max difficulty is beaten, showing the animatronic is significant to the events we see, but the representation of the vengeful spirit talking to the character Old Man Consequences is a bear. While dual process theory does mention that the sped up ambiance might be William calling out to Henry and Michael, potentially casting the old man and the bear as Henry and Mike, I honestly find it more likely that no matter who Old Man Consequences is or is not, if the audio is meant to be William calling out, it would more likely connect to how Mike and Henry were the ones who tag-teamed setting William on fire again. Pizzeria Simulator was the culmination of Michael's arc. He tracked down his father just like he promised to in Sister Location, and his final living act was to take him down by trapping him in the fiery death maze Henry created. Meanwhile, Ultimate Custom Night is the culmination of Golden Freddy's arc. After trying and failing to destroy William Afton by spring-locking him, the vengeful spirit wanted to make William suffer. So, using the connection between them that William created by using parts of Golden Freddy to modify his own suit, Cassidy set up Ultimate Custom Night, making William face the terror of his own creations. But even if Cassidy is the vengeful spirit and not the crying child, are these 2 characters really sharing Golden Freddy? Dual process theory wasn't wrong that most of the evidence for it is speculation. The head in FNAF 3 may have both eyes lit, but it also seems to only have one light source, and is from a game intended to be the series' conclusion before the crying child even existed. So I don't think that necessarily proves anything either way. There's the Jake and Andrew parallel, but even if the characters themselves do parallel the attributes of the crying child and Cassidy in some ways, the point remains that their situation is the way it is because they were initially possessing 2 different objects and ended up with their differences in sight and ability due to ending up in different places in the assembled endoskeleton. Is that really meant to be a parallel, or is it just coincidence? coincidence. Not only that, but would it even be possible for the crying child to possess Golden Freddy at all? If William did eventually kill another child and put their body in the suit, would he have known how or been able to put his son's soul in the animatronic? Well, I'd argue that he didn't, but I think someone else was able to instead. The line "I will put you back together" in FNAF 4 that is shown just before the crying child phase and the infamously unsolved box appears on screen is written in yellow font, just like the other lines attributed to William in the game. Or they would be, if not for the fact that the text color of these lines is a lighter shade of yellow. While this color is shared with another character in the game, this doesn't necessarily indicate anything, as there are also two characters who share a certain shade of green. Additionally, I also don't think this change in color was a mistake or arbitrary, as I think it would be rather weird for William to refer to himself as his son's friend like the light yellow text does. Rather, I would like to point out that this lighter yellow connects better with what we see in FNAF World, where after receiving clues from a glitchy Fredbear to set up the pieces of FNAF 3's Happiest Day ending, light yellow text appears at the end of the game saying some lines that connect pretty much directly to the ones said in FNAF 4, except instead of "I will put you back together," they say "the pieces are in place for you, all you have to do is find them. Rest." Not only does this in a way connect to how the FNAF 4 box has been described as the pieces put together, but I find this particularly significant since in FNAF 3 there is one particular spirit that is trying to help the other children rest.
Just straight up shut it go.
Charlie Emily. This is another reason I think Charlie's death would be earlier in the timeline than dual process theory presents. As the guardian spirit of the children and the one shown to be involved with the kids possessing their animatronics in some way, I think it's very likely that Charlie is the one who vowed to put the crying child back together, and that William had nothing to do with the situation outside of being the cause of Charlie's death. The crying child died from his injuries, and Charlie's spirit may have led his soul to Fredbear, where she would try to help him rest. In fact, I think this would also explain why the crying child would have less control over the Golden Freddy suit than Cassidy. After all, Cassidy's entire body was put into the Springlock suit. Meanwhile, the crying child's soul would have been guided in from a distance, making his connection to the suit much less powerful. They don't need to be possessing different parts of the suit like Jake and Andrew, they just need to have different levels of strength due to their differences in connection. As for the more direct evidence of him sharing the suit with Cassidy, for that I turn primarily to two sources: the survival logbook and the Endo daycare and security breach. The first one is pretty well known, where a little girl with black hair is shown receiving the cake from the puppet. With Cassidy in the novel trilogy being described as a girl with long black hair, the depiction of a black-haired girl is particularly striking, with the good ending of FNAF 3 being achieved through the puppet giving cake to a spirit with a Golden Freddy mask. However, while this alone could just be taken as evidence that the Cassidy of the games is meant to resemble the trilogy version of the character, that alone doesn't do much to prove Cassidy and the crying child are occupying the same space. What I think it does is this poster found in the Endo daycare and security breach. At first glance, this seems to just be a poster that, along with other similar ones, is trying to teach the endoskeletons in the game what to do and what not to do. In this case in particular, don't hospitalize children. But if you look closer, you'll notice something interesting. Not only does the bedspread look pretty dang similar to the one we see in the FNAF 4 bedroom, where on occasion medical equipment can appear connecting this back to the crying child's injuries after FNAF 4, but the child in this hospital bed isn't a boy with a striped shirt, as would be assumed if this was representing the crying child. Instead, it's a little girl with black hair. Why put a black-haired girl in either of these positions? Cassidy definitely wasn't willing to rest in FNAF 3 based on Ultimate Custom Night being a thing, and she also definitely wasn't involved with the events of FNAF 4, which took place years before she died. However, the crying child was. He's the character directly relevant to FNAF 4, and because of that game connecting to the yellow text in FNAF World,
Sorry, I just seen some shit in my comments that had to get banned. That shit was weird. Anyway,
he's also connected directly to the events of Happiest Day in FNAF 3, implying it wasn't Cassidy being given the
now I see why that person's username was that. Sorry for anybody who's watching the live stream back and you see like the chat on the side of the screen. I'm sorry if you had to see that shit. Anyway, I'm getting re-locked into this. ID's Fantasy is a great FNAF theorist.
Cake in that ending. It was the crying child. With this in mind, it can be assumed that both the logbook image and the security breach poster show Cassidy occupying a space linked to the crying child, almost as though she and the crying child were occupying the same space in Golden Freddy. So do I think dual process theory solved FNAF? Not really. While I respect the effort and creativity that went into their video, the evidence they present doesn't stand up super well in the face of some of the evidence they appear to have misrepresented or overlooked. And it's because of this and some other theories I've seen recently that lead me to the final topic I wanted to discuss in this video. It's pretty easy to find evidence for a theory and present it in a convincing way, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's correct. The theories that tend to get the most attention are the ones that have a big reveal presented confidently that people haven't considered before, regardless of the actual validity of the evidence presented. As a result, most theories that get get popular take ideas that are largely agreed upon and suggest a different answer instead. Sometimes this is warranted, but there are also instances where we were probably right the first time or another answer is more likely, yet the understanding of why is overlooked or forgotten in the theory that gets popularized. As cool as it is to find a new interpretation that seems to solve something, it's important to be aware of all the evidence that interpretation has working both for and against it, as well as how much weight certain evidence should be given based on its source, quality, accuracy, and clarity, before settling on a theory. Otherwise, we run the risk of unsolving the lore rather than solving it. However, just because I disagree with dual process theory's interpretation of the timeline doesn't mean that you have to. Additionally, I would like to encourage dual process theory to continue to make theory videos in the future. A variety of beliefs and perspectives on the lore is incredibly important in solving the things that do need to be solved. And while no one should blindly trust anyone who claims to have the answers, myself included, no one should be written off just because they might not get everything right all the time. With all that said, I hope this video brought some clarity to the debate around Golden Freddy and the identity of the spirits connected to it. Let me know your thoughts about the topic down in the comments, and hey, if you enjoyed the video and made it—
Like, honestly, I would just... Like, I just watch FNAF theorists just to see what, like, falls out of their heads. But, like, I can't make my own theories anymore since my brain's all jumbled up with, like, all kinds of shit that the community's been saying all these years. But, I think that's the last FNAF theory we're gonna watch today. Since, I'm on a little bit of a time limit right now. So, maybe later I might start streaming again, but for now, that is pretty much it for this live stream. I'm trying to grab her on a stream highlight so I can make this a whole reaction video. Oh, I think we're set. If you're not watching the live stream, you should tune in and come. Okay, yeah, we're set. All right, that was the FNAF theories. If you guys want me to watch more, make sure you guys hit the like button on this live stream, comment down below, and I will see you guys later. Peace out. Wait, I should probably wait for the stream highlight. Not yet. What did you guys think about the theories? What is your ideas about Golden Freddy? Go ahead and let me know while the stream highlight is uploading. While I casually fill in this information for it. Hello Joey, hello TGS or TGSF. Got a credit ID fantasy. And then I gotta put that there. Boom. Shit. Boom. There we go. People are probably writing essays right now. Yeah, probably. Because honestly, I think there's probably just, I don't know. There's probably 2 kids in this suit. Golden Freddy has to be special somehow. Everybody else has like 1 person in their suit. Maybe there's 2 people in the Golden Freddy suit. Whatever. Maybe we know who they are. Maybe we don't know who they are. But the only thing we can rely on is the books, since we don't really have that much information. It's weird because we have a lot of information, but we also just don't have a lot of information to just put 2 and 2 together. That's what I also hate about FNAF. Like, it'd be so cool one day to just watch this whole, like, series back and be like, oh, so that's what it was, and oh, that's what we missed. But no, it's not. We can't do that yet. Okay, once I add a placeholder thumbnail for this live stream, maybe Scott will one day just tell us. Yeah. Once I add a placeholder thumbnail for this stream highlight, I am going to turn off the live stream. All right, there we go. All right, I'll see y'all later. Peace out. Thank you for tuning into live stream. Love y'all plenty. Thank you again.